shot my daily 50 in a pool hall last week, and this is a great rack. I think there's a couple of good lessons here about being specific. I've got kind of a high break ball on the one. That's just a follow stroke. You saw the cue ball bounce off the top of the rack and kind of curve forward. Kept it under control, kept it down table, and in fact, all the balls are down table, and they're all open well. There's no huge problems. I'm looking to see how much room I have to shoot this one, and then there's a little issue with just a couple of balls in the rack area. So I'm shooting the 8 for the purpose of getting on this combination. Now, I could have shot the combination at first and then shot the 8 back this way, I think. But I chose to do this because my cue ball's moving up table off from this ball. I've got to cut that stripe just a hair to the left. Probably less than I think because my cue ball didn't go up table. So I'm addressing problems. I didn't do great there, but I do have a shot on the 2. It's pretty thin, and I can't control the cue ball. So I'm just letting the cue ball, it's going to go off, hit the 2 thin and go off the rail into these balls. So you hit this softly and hope you come up with a shot. There's a lot of balls that are open in the upper table, so it should be a bit of a risk there, but it should be okay. Now, problems are pretty much solved here. This turned out very well. I'll give you an idea of what I'm looking at. From this point on, I have to be very specific in what I'm doing if you want to get on the break shot. So we need to do rack analysis. I have one break ball. I have a good key ball right above it. I've got a little bit of an issue with these 2 balls in the center of the table. However, they both go here. So you need a ball to set up for those. And that's my primary focus right now is I need to clear these balls. So how do I get on those balls? Look diagonally from the pocket. I've got 2 balls along this rail, the 10 up there, and I think it's the 13 down here. So I can use either of these balls. I can draw back from either of those to get on these 2 in the corner. So I need to land somewhat straight on this rail in order to do that. That's my primary focus. I'm really not paying a lot of attention to these other balls because they're all in the open, and I'm going to be able to navigate those easy enough. You've got to deal with this. This is not easy to navigate, so we're dealing with it immediately. That's the only issue on the table. So how do you get there? And I look at it, and there's an easy path to get there, and that's to shoot this 9 ball. I'll go ahead and hit play because it doesn't take me long to shoot this. Shoot this 9 ball and just get straight in on this stripe into the side pocket, and then I can follow forward and get along this rail for these 2 balls. So that's the purpose of the next 2 shots. Loosening up my arm there. So you saw me take some time with that and look at it because you've got to be specific. Because if you don't get straight on this ball on the side, then you're going to have a hard time getting the cue ball on the rail, and that's what you got to do. Being rail balls, we want to remove those. They're kind of problem balls, and I need them to set up for these 2. So it's very important to get that right. You notice when I played position for this ball, the ball was here, and I didn't try to play position here. I played position way over here because then the amount that you're off from straight in is less impactful. So now I'm shooting the upper table ball, and you're going to see me come back and take a real good look. Where exactly do I want to be? And I'm looking at, here's the shot line for the 7. I'd like to shoot the 7 first, and I want to be just below the shot line to the 7 because maybe then I can nudge this stripe over and make a second break ball. And I'm fortunate enough that I did get there. If I didn't, then I would just draw back from the 7 and shoot this stripe in the same pocket. So being very specific about where I want the cue ball. So now I'm going to nudge forward. I've got 3 balls as insurance balls. I got 3 balls in every direction. So no risk in that shot at all. And I've made a second break ball. Now you see, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but I went over and grabbed my drink, and I'm standing there taking a sip of my drink because the rack has been completely solved. Let me hit pause for a second. I'm taking a look at what I want to do here, and I want to be specific because I have 2 break balls to choose from. And I like this one better. It's lower, it's across from the middle of the rack, it's not up so high, and it has a very good key ball. So I'm pointing at this ball right now to affirm to myself, that's my key ball. So you've heard me say this before. What do you do if this is your key ball? You need in the side pocket, you need a K2. Where's your K2? Diagonal across the table. And whatever you find that ball, oops, here's your break ball. You've made a triangle. But that triangle works only because they are close to each other and you can play position so that one leads to the next. So that's what I'm looking at. So now that I've decided that, one of these is going to be my key ball. So what's my pattern? I end up choosing a pattern that is not the standard pattern most players would choose. And the reason is, well, there's not a good reason. The reason is I like 2 rails out of the corner. So I'm going to use this ball here as my K2 by playing 2 rails out of the corner into the position zone for this key ball on the side. I think most straight pool players would recognize that this could be a key ball because each of these balls lead to each other is what I'm trying to say. In other words, you can shoot this ball first, and all you got to do is bounce straight off the rail back to where you are now. Then you can shoot this ball on the side. You float forward. You're near to straight in on this ball, which gives you near to straight in on this ball in this corner. And this is what we want. Stop shot, stop shot, stop shot. That's what you want for your end pattern. I think that's the best end pattern. And I pass it up. I'm not sure why. I do see it. I make a choice. You can see me kind of pointing. I'm really figuring out which way do I want to go here. And I can't tell you why I chose this way. Now I'm showing the 2 rail pattern. See that? 2 rails out of the corner gets you on this break ball. I'm not sure why I'm choosing it. There's a little bit of risk in shooting this ball first and bouncing off the rail. Just a little. Because if you come too far, then you have the wrong angle and your cue ball's going this way when you shoot it in the side. But it's a really, really small risk. And if you don't come far enough, you might have to send the cue ball up table and back down to get on this 3. Very small risk is what I'm saying. But I'm choosing a route that has less risk. In other words, well, I'm not going to say it has less risk. I'm choosing this route because I like the 2 rails to get on this side pocket shot. Now, do you see me put my Q-tip on the table? I'm looking at exactly where I need to. This is the risky shot because if I don't get the right angle on this ball here, it's going to be hard to get position on this ball. So I got to make sure I get there. And I just broke a cardinal rule. I got there, but I didn't have to. I broke a cardinal rule in straight pool. Look how close the cue ball is to the 9 ball. I should have played position from this ball way over here. Because the farther you are from the ball, and I don't want to be way up table, but in a reasonable distance, the farther you are from the ball, the less impactful the angle is. You have a larger distance for the cue ball to land and still have a good shot. And if you get too much angle, you might go to the rail and up or go to the side rail and back. So the way I played it, I better get straight in or I'm not going to have a good angle. But I got very close to straight in, and now I'm looking at I want you to watch. I'm being very specific. There's where my cue ball is, and I've already mapped out where I want the cue ball to go, and I'll talk about that. I've mentioned this before, but I'll talk about it again. Here's the straight in the shot line for the ball in the side pocket, and it's kind of heading to this diamond. And I looked at this earlier. You can rewind it and look. If the shot line intercepts the rail here, I want to look roughly halfway, maybe a little less than halfway between that point and the point of the pocket here. So that's about here, because I want when my and from that point you want to figure out the point on this rail. So it's angle in equals angle out. Angle in, angle out to get to this point. So I've already picked those points before I began shooting my end pattern. So I'm going to get a stop shot, and then my cue ball is going to hit the rail here and here. The reason why is if you play for your cue ball to hit where the shot line intersects the rail, then it hits the rail and it's coming this way, which is coming above the shot line. So I want to hit the rail below where the shot line intersects the rail so it comes up into the shot line. And I've got a super high percentage chance of landing just perfectly straight in on that ball in the side pocket. This is there were several instances in this rack where I needed to be very specific, and this is the most important one. And now I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm going to look at it again, I think. I'm looking at the shot line from the side pocket, pointing my finger where that is, and then I want to come below that point, and then I'm finding angle in, angle out to get to that point. This is the reason why I chose this key ball, is I don't have to depend on landing straight in. This is so super high percentage, super controllable if you know how to map out that route. So that's why I included it in this rack of the week. I think that's cool, and it dovetails with the idea of you have to recognize where it's important during your rack to be very specific about where you're putting the cue ball. I always show the break shot into the next rack, so let's take a look. I said this break ball was kind of across the middle, but it's kind of low, middle to low, and so I'm anticipating that I'm going to use a draw stroke or a below center stroke to try and get the cue ball to either hold up or go back to the rail. Let's take a look. Yeah, looks like I'm aiming low. Oh, and I pulled it all the way up table, so I must have noticed that it was hitting the rack ball on the top side, full or on the top side, so I drew it back. Another great result, the diamond tables here at Main Street Billiards all play fantastic. If you notice, this is what you want as a straight pool player, and what I'm talking about is no two balls are touching. Even in the rack area, typically you'll get 5 or 6 or even 7 balls remaining in the rack area. Look at this, only 3 balls in the rack area, and they're not really touching. Very manageable rack. These are beautiful tables. Anyway, be specific when your cue ball requires it, which is most of the time playing a rack of straight pool. You don't want to do it 100% of the time because it'll wear yourself out mentally, but you need to recognize the points during the rack where it is important to be specific. Hope you guys like that. Thanks for watching, and see you next week on Rack of the Week. Bye.